That is a very good question. I mean, we created the United States Department of Agriculture to support the small farmer, and to which generations of our leadership believe that the preserving the small farmer was critical to our democracy. Thomas Jefferson said that American democracy is rooted in tens of thousands of independent freeholds, each owned by a small family farmer with a stake in our system, both our political system and our economic system. And that for democracy to survive, we had to keep the landscapes in the control of small farmers. USDA was created to keep it in the control of small farmers and to ensure a wholesome food supply. USDA, unfortunately, has been captured by the big agricultural interests, by Cargill, Monsanto, and Smithfield, Tyson, Purdue, all of these giant mega industrial agriculture factory food productions, and they're doing the opposite of what's supposed to do. They're making war on the small farmer, and they're making war on public health, and they're giving us food. You have to eat 8 carrots today to get the same nutritional value that 1 carrot would give you a generation ago. And the carrot is then loaded with all of those chemicals, with atrazine, with neonicotinoid pesticides, with glyphosate, and as you say, this entire universe of terrible, terrible chemicals for which none of them have been adequately tested for safety, not one of them. Chemicals, when they're approved by FDA, USDA, and EPA, the burden of proof is on the agency to prove that the chemical is dangerous. The assumption is that all chemicals are good for you unless proven guilty. So, and it's up to the industry to finance the tests. And so, of course, those tests never get done. And we've got all of these chemicals that should not be in food. How do we switch? We do. The obstacle is that the industry is so powerful, and the regulatory agency is completely captive by those interests. And it's one of the hardest, the most difficult of the regulatory agencies to unravel corporate agriculture is USDA. But one of the things that you can do is I can do, and I'll do as president, is use the other agents. First of all, I'm going to start using every mechanism I can to incentivize regenerative agriculture, which farmers want to do. No farmer wants to be in the commodity business, producing essentially fiber for us to eat and feel like we had a meal. Most farmers, I know many farmers I've worked with since I was a kid. I was a 4-H kid when I was a kid. Most farmers want to create food that is beautiful, that is nutritious, that is healthy for us. I've been on farms all over Iowa and Kansas where the farmers can't drink their own wells because they're so loaded with poisons. Those farmers are among the dispossessed. They have been deplatformed by corporations that have put short-term interests in substituted that for the long-term productivity and the economic viability of that farm. And nobody wants to live like that, but they're locked in a system from which nobody can escape. And I've got to provide them ways to escape. I'm going to incentivize the transition to organic and regenerative agriculture, incentivize the regeneration of the soils, which are actually, we have depleted of these microbiomic communities that actually are able to process carbon and are the biggest carbon sink, and that give us good food. But one of the things I can do is to weaponize the other agencies against chemical agriculture by doing good science on the chemicals that are actually poisoning us, and show that, maybe high fructose corn syrup is linked to the obesity epidemic in this country.
Sure.
It's linked. And I would say to you, if you're going to drink a Coca-Cola, get a Mexican Coke. Because the U.S. Cokes are loaded with high fructose corn syrup, and, they're clearly linked to diabetes epidemic, the obesity epidemic. Our children didn't suddenly get lazy. They're being mass poisoned. and we're doing it with stuff with commodities that we put a label on and call it food, but it isn't. It's just fibrous materials laced with poison, and we've got to change that.